Happy Friday, everyone. It's time for Friday Night Dinos. My name is Wendy, and you are watching the Wendy Makes Art channel. We are drawing dinosaurs. Later, in the after party, we will paint them. So thanks for joining tonight. Thanks for watching later. I hope you learned something new, and we're going to put this growly guy down for a second. I'm going to start with what we're working on tonight. I have an image in the bottom left. You can find that resource photo at FridayNightDinos.com. And then we're going to be painting this tonight. So I have it set up in front of me. It's very close to the image that you can download. You'll see a little bit of difference, but it at least gives you something that you can look at, so I don't have to focus another camera on there. Couple things. If you're drawing along, just be easy on yourself and remember that you can watch this later. It will be on Twitch for the next week on the Wendy Makes Art channel, and then after that it will be on FridayNightDinos.com, and you can watch the episodes. They'll be linked from that website, and you can watch them on YouTube. So definitely, if you get behind, don't panic. Sometimes it's fun just to watch and hang out for the evening on a Friday night. What are we doing? We're drawing dinosaurs. How funny is that? So with that, if you like what you see, definitely make sure to click on subscribe and then get alerts. You can sign up for alerts so that when I'm live, you'll find out about it. So we're gonna get started, and I'm going to draw with a nice, let's see what I've got here, 8B pencil. So for this thing I like to do, I'll typically draw an 8x10 panel on a larger sheet, and I have that lined up out here. Then I'm going to look at my image and try to decide how much of my dinos I want in here. I know I'm going to cut some tails off, or else there'll be teeny tiny little dinos in order to get those tails in. So we're going to block in shapes first and really just try to make sure that they fit on camera, and try to also see where I want them to hit in space. Who do I want more of? Who do I want less of? How much of the teacups do I want? And where, if I put my pencil up and I hold it in front of their mouths where they cross over each other, where do I want that? I probably don't want it in the center of my image. So one of these guys has to be closer, or less of him is going to show, and one of them is going to be the dominant dino. I can tell you just by looking at it, my dominant dino is going to be the dino on the right. So I'm going to put a line right here just so I know that it's not quite in the center of where their faces are going to meet. It's not all the way over a third, but I just want some kind of a reference on where that's going to sit so that I don't plop everything straight in the middle of the sheet. I want it shifted to the left a little bit. So from here, I really want to kind of decide where this image is going to sit, and that's going to help me determine how big everything is. So I want a little bit of foreground in this. I want to be able to see some of these teacups. On your image that you have in front of you, they are cut off. So I can make that decision as I start to size these guys and figure out where they sit. Do I want to go ahead and cut it off and make the dinosaurs bigger, or do I want to show the whole teacup? So it's your drawing. Definitely, I'd love you to be creative with it and have a lot of fun. And draw your dinos whatever size you want. Add as much as you want. I'm working on an 8x10 because it's an easy to size, easy frameable size. But you can take a big sheet of paper and work really long and just draw those dinos out really long. Or get a couple of your own dinosaurs and set them up, and there you go. Let's see. So blocking in shapes, the first thing I'm going to do is try to figure out if I know that this is the bottom of my cup and that's the top of my head. The halfway point is going to be the bottom of his chin. So it's one more marker that gives me an idea of where things are in space. And I'm gonna try to then figure out how big this head of his goes in. So I'm just gonna draw, you know, a big oval shape on where this head is gonna hit. It will go a little further back on this sheet. And then his eye, there's a V coming down. And again, I'm just trying to gauge shape. Now already I know that the top part of this, I do this all the time, is too big. So I'm gonna erase some of this and try to get a better feel for what is going where and how these sit. So again, coming in here, drawing ovals to try to gauge what's going on with this dinosaur and how his body sits. This is more like a triangle. It doesn't come to a complete triangle tip for where his head sits, but it does help me guess on what's going on with that. And then if you ever want to know what angle something is, if you hold it, look at it straight at what you're looking at, mirror that angle with your pencil, and then come over your drawing, it'll give you a really good idea if your angle is correct or not. I'm going to start looking for, once I get these shapes in, then I'll start to try to figure out where things are and how they cross into each other. So there's that. I know that his body is going to be in here. There'll be, you know, big body coming down here. His little T-Rex hands are going to be underneath here. You hear noises. That is my T-Rex cat who is playing with something in the corner. I'm not sure what she's into, but she is not happy that she did not get any mommy time when I got home. And I think she's gonna get a little crazy. So I'm just gonna draw a line where his hand is because it's most likely that these will be wrong, but definitely eraser cam. Yeah, shaky eraser cam. I'm sorry about that. Until I have a more stable surface, when I erase, the whole camera erases because it's stuck to the board that this is on. So I did not mean to torture my viewers. Okay, little grippy hand, belly comes back here. There's gonna be a leg here, comes down, and then he's gonna have a cup. Now, this cup comes underneath here, and it's gonna come back behind his little hands. And I just draw some circles to try to find where it is in space, how big it is compared to the dino. I'm trying to gauge all of that. Where does this sit? How does it fall? And will it fit right on the canvas? So once I get a good feel for, am I being ridiculous on my sizes? You know, where do these guys sit in space? I block things in. There's the back of his head is going to be back here. It gives me a good idea of if I'm on the right track or not. Okay. And I know that underneath this, you know, this is going to have a cup coaster, and then his foot is landing in about the same right place. That doesn't mean it will once I draw more of this, but for right now, it seems pretty spot on. Now, one of the nice things about drawing on a bigger sheet is as I continue to draw this out, if I decide that, like, I'm looking at this and I'm going, I really think that the right side of this should be here where my pencil is. So what I'm going to do is I'll erase this line and this line. I'll draw more out here. I may even paint more, and then I can crop it later. You aren't married to the frame when you work on a bigger sheet. So Really, really, yes. Oh, Leva, hi. Leva P, welcome. Hope everything. T-Rexes, they're T-Rexes from Texas. Thanks for dropping in. I'm glad to see you here. They are T-Rexes. So I have a feeling that I'm going to end up adjusting what I have in front of me, but we're going with this for now. And I'm just kind of gauging where everything sits to make sure it will fit in here. There'll be a spot in here. His belly will be in here, and he's got this fantastic leg. And I'll probably want more of that thigh in here, which is another reason why I'll end up cropping. I'll move this over a little bit. Cropping so that I erase. Go ahead and eraser cam is going to come back in. And I'm just going to brush this off. For those of you who are learning to draw or drawing, I'm using a soft pencil, and so if I use my hand, I'm going to smear it. I'll smear this anyway, but I might as well use a dry brush and brush off my eraser marks because I'll have less of a chance of really making a big mess with this. So I'm going to start with, I've got an idea of where these guys are sitting now. And I'm going to come in here and start to actually draw the dinosaurs. So this guy's going to have his nose. Do I happen to have any new awesome dinosaurs to paint in the near future? I do. So you probably can't see the giant shelf. I do have, he's not even in screen. I have some amazing dinosaurs that I'm going to be painting out and trying. He's so long, I have to put him this way. Here, there's his little head. There's a long-necked one. My husband for Valentine's Day bought me the coolest dinosaurs. So let me show some of those real quick. Check this guy out. So he's got this fabulous shape where he hit things probably to defend himself, and he had spikes all over him. Here he is from the side. And I know these are probably a little hard to see in front of me. Oh, let's try it this way. Here. Oh, sometimes it takes me a while. Yeah, definitely takes me a while. And yeah, this guy he's really long. So you can see, oh, I've got to turn him sideways so you can see. There's his head. He's really big. Nice long tail. So it was the most awesome gift. You are right. It was so cool. It was a fun surprise. And I got home and they were all sitting out on the kitchen, the dining table, which was really fun. Check this guy out. He is so mean looking. I mean, we're going to have some scary drawings going on. But my dinosaurs look absolutely cartoony compared to these guys. So I'll bring more of them out in a little bit, but they are very, very fun. And a great variety. You know, I've got more carnivores, I've got herbivores, I've got ones with little things all over them, so that's been a lot of fun. All right, coming back in here. I don't know why I start with his snout. It just is a great place for me to start. And I go in here and I start to look at, what am I seeing? This guy has this triangle-y shape, I guess I call it triangle-y shape on his head. And that's where his big old nostril is going to come into play. And then he's got this oval area, which on this side isn't really easy to see. Okay, I'm going to come up. And his brow bone's going to go in here. And then it looks a little angry. So I'm going to do eraser, shaky eraser cam. Sorry. And come in here, and his little eyeball is going to be right in here. So we're going to just give him a little oval eyeball with a little dot in it, and he's going to be looking down at everything until I realize that I drew it in the wrong place and erase it, but we're just going to go with it for now. I think it's fine. So I'm coming around here to what I lovingly call the chicken ears, because that's what it reminds me of, little chicken ears in this section that he's got back in here. And that helps guide me on where the bottoms of his jaw line up and then come under here. So back up to this. There's that. And then the back of his head comes off the back of that. So he's got a pretty bulbous head. If you've ever watched The Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell, there's this whole fun scene that's Will Ferrell has this whole battle with T-Rex in Land of the Lost, and he says it's because his brain is the size of a walnut. And then they're hanging out trapped because the T-Rex is out there, and you hear a thunk, and they all go to the door, and there's this wrapped with a big banana leaf wrapped thing, and they're like, what is it? And Will Ferrell looks, and they open it up, and it's like, it's a walnut. I always thought that was funny. So maybe he was a lot smarter than Will Ferrell made him out to be. Draw some little teeth so that I can gauge in here where this bottom jaw is, and then I'm going to come over here and try to make sure that I have the right angle. I was not quite sharp enough on my angle, and I'm really watching where I put, where is the top of his nose, where does this line up? So trying to make sure that I don't misalign things too much. And then I also try to look at where his little, where's the middle tooth? Well, there's the middle tooth. And then the teeth are offset just a little bit, probably so he can chew things up a little better. So where do the next teeth fall? Because I know that there's going to be a little space in there. And that also helps me gauge where everything should sit. But I'm sitting here going, ooh, that's not right. That's just not tall enough. So we're going to come back in here, go like that, do a shaky eraser cam. Does anybody have a long holiday weekend this weekend? It's a good time for travel or trips. It is President's Day weekend. I was out this morning, and traffic was really busy in New Mexico. So I think a lot of people are going out of town. It was kind of busy, to say the least, this morning. All right, coming in here, in the bottom of his mouth. I think it needs to be a little longer. So this needs to come out here a little more. And then he's got his fantastic little triangle shape right through here, or where that goes. Try not to shake too much. I know I'm shaking it. And I'm going to come in here and just erase in there in his mouth and along the edge. Now I like to see that depth, so I'm going to go ahead and shade in that divot inside his eye, around his eye, so I can kind of get a feel if I have it spaced right. I'm going to do that right behind this ear right here, down in here. Then he's got some stuff going on in here, so I'm going to change to a different pencil. Draw that squishy stuff in his mouth. And his bottom jaw isn't quite right. So I just erase it and start. Oh man, you have to work. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. So coming around here, oh, see, I didn't use my brush. I used my finger. And what did I do? I made a mess, big mess. So now I can kind of start to see where I make mistakes. Just if something doesn't look right in shape, like this doesn't look right there. So I'm going to make it sharper. And I'm going to come in here. And I do not hesitate to go ahead and tackle that with the eraser and try to get it right. Because I don't want him to be, in the end of the day, I'm drawing dinosaurs for fun. It doesn't have to be perfect because we don't really know what they look like. But I would like to get it somewhat right so it doesn't look odd when my viewer's looking at it. So these guys crack me up. They make me think of like two girls getting together. Actually, it could be anybody. It could be two guys getting together, and they have all kinds of things to chat about. So super fun. Put his eye a little higher. Shaky eraser cam. Kind of reminds me of when I'm with my friends and we just have so much to share, like catching up and sharing and lots to talk about. So I think it's a fun story. There's a lot of fun story in this piece. All right, that's where his thing would be. There's that. Sometimes I wonder where my pencil marks came from. I have all these crazy little marks. I'm going to start to, actually, I'll go in here, kind of gauge what's going on where. He's got his fun little arm muscles, because T-Rexes work out a lot. And then come up here, draw that, draw this coming down, and then there's a like muscle area right in there. And that's where his back is going to go. Then I want to get his really strong muscular arms. This comes up, and I'm really paying attention to where things end. So if I look at his neck and I go, about the middle of the neck is where this little clawed finger is going. Again, my view is going to be a little different than the one you have, and my light's a little different because I have it set up in the studio. And I'm looking at the negative shape, so I'm not just looking at the shape of the item, but I'm looking where things are spacing in between. What does that shape in between look like? And it helps me really draw not things, but shapes. And if you ever work on your drawing, sometimes we think something, one of the hardest things is thinking that something should be a certain way, and it's easy to start drawing things like trees. You assume it's a certain way, and you're not paying attention as much to things like, what does this shape in here? And is this shape right in between here? It really helps you start placing things and getting things where they need to be. And then it'll look like the thing that you're drawing because you're not drawing things. It doesn't even make sense when I say it like that, but. All right. Teacup, oval teacup. Start to erase. So already I noticed just in looking this, I didn't place it exactly. It's pretty close, but not quite where it needed to be. And I'm going to come in here and draw this big old chunky leg. Come around here. And I'm trying to look at where does the edge of this teacup sit. It comes all the way in here. And then the handle comes down. And I've got to pay attention to where his foot is sitting now. So I know that his little foot, this back part, is going to come in here and up around and match up with that. So I'm really trying to pay attention to, again, where do they sit in comparison to each other and how does that look? Okay, so now I'm going down from this guy, and this drawing is really messy tonight. I don't know that I'm usually this, I guess, maybe I am always this messy. It is a messy, messy drawing. We'll clean it up with paint. You can fix anything with paint. Unless you guys want to see a color pencil tonight, but this seems like it's screaming for paint. So from the bottom of this little handle, the teacup comes out. Now I know it's going to get close to, and I'm going to make sure I have this high, this tall enough. This little teacup needs to be tall enough. So there's that. And then I come around here and I'm trying to make sure that my plate is sitting in the right spot. So if this goes back here, what does a shape right in here look like? What does that look like when I come around the corner? And then coming down around again and underneath, and I'll see part of that teacup underneath here. And then I ask myself, is the lid right? Is the lip right? And where are the shadow lines inside? There's a soft shadow line right in there. So just trying to make sure that I mark where that is. His foot looks about right. There is another, he's got 3 front toes. So one comes in here and then goes up his leg. And then this other one is right in there. And there's the third one. And then he's got, just like a dog, he's got a dew claw. I'm just going to call it a dew claw. I am sure that is not a technical term for a dinosaur. But in my land, I'm calling it a dew claw. Clean this up a little bit. Shake It Eraser Cam is going crazy. And then I'm going to brush it a little bit. So really just trying to keep placing things. We almost have this dinosaur on the right drawn. Now I'm paying attention to this area between his little arm, and there's a section in here that comes down to where this back leg is arching back. And again, what I'm looking at this area right here. So I'm looking at what does this area look like. It helps me gauge the ankle. where, if I put a straight line back to here, and then I go a straight line up, where does this toe sit? So I'm looking at all of these spaces simultaneously, just really trying to gauge where they all are and if I've got it right. So this one needs to come up. It has to come up a little more. I had it a little bit low. And again, this is probably going to get cut off when it's all said and done, but I might as well try to get it right now so that everything else has the right angle and the motion and the weight for where it's sitting, in case I do leave it in. So I'm drawing his back leg, which you can't see. I'll move that over. You can kind of see where that is. I'm looking where his little thing is coming, back of his foot coming down. I know that this will come back here. There'll be a little section, and then that front toe is going to be in here. I'm not going to get too detailed with it because I know that it will probably get removed. This is a nice marker. Some of this stuff you really want to kind of feel out, and I think it helps define when you're drawing something that is supposed to be lifelike, to the movement, the muscle feel. Dinosaurs are all about muscles. They were big, giant critters that just had a ton of muscle mass. So, I kind of want to get that feeling in my artwork that they're not delicate creatures for the most part. I don't think you survived way back then if you were lunch. Just put it that way. You got eaten. Okay. I have a little eraser pencil that is in my other studio, and I wish I had it right now because I don't think I'd shake this as bad. Next time I'll use that. It's such a fun eraser. So you can get erasers that are in pencil form, and you can click it. So there's even ones that are like teeny tiny little pencil lead that you can use, and then some that are a little bigger than that in a rectangle shape, and then some that are even a little bigger than that. But it helps you get in all the little nooks and crannies, and especially when you've got something this gigantic and you're trying to erase, makes life a lot easier. Okay, let's get this other dino in. And again, I'm looking at, I need a new pencil. Started with a new pencil, 6B. This will be a nice soft one. Oh, let's drop to 4. Not quite so soft because I am messy tonight. So I'm looking at, as this comes around his mouth right here, we're going to draw some teeth in. I just chose to ignore the teeth, which is kind of funny. So he's missing a whole bunch of teeth. If I had my eraser pencil, I could clean out all of those little teeny tiny teeth. You think the eraser cam's fun? I'm glad, because I always worry that I'm going to make you all seasick with the eraser. The erasing. I keep trying different. I'll set up and I'll try different places for the camera, and I just don't have it down yet. But I will keep working on it, and one of these days I'll get it right. And I'm hoping that you won't see it at such a weird angle. Like right now, where my hands are, it's not, it's a little goofy. So it is a little cattywampus. It's angled off a little. So you'll never see it quite right from the camera angle, as I think that's more like it. So that kind of gives you a better straight on angle than this for when you're watching. Okay, so second verse, same as the first, we're doing the other dino. I love his big old jaw that comes back here and then it dips down. I think it's so expressive when his jaw turns around in this little thing and he's got something to say. He's so excited. He's like, dude. So the other day I was eating these, well, we won't even talk about what I was eating, but I was eating something that was making a lot of noise. And out of the blue, do you know who came by? Oh, it was that Lady Rex. I'm telling ya. She was looking green. Ugh, my favorite color. Can only imagine what these two are up to and talking about. His little nostrils up here. Like this. Oh, they could be like, oh, I haven't eaten. I've been on this diet. I have not had any treats in the longest time. That's what my dinosaurs are saying right now. So, fun little eye comes down in here, and I'm trying to see where does it sit? Right there. And then where this jaw comes down, how does that sit in this so that this dinosaur is chit-chatting right there? And where does that gooey part in the base of the cheek sit? So I kind of draw that in. And then I can see that mouth inside and tongue. And then we've got some teeth. This guy has smaller teeth than the one on the right. I'm going to clean up a little bit. Shaky eraser cam. Right in here. Brush that off. And again, I'm looking at where are the wrinkles? And where do they hit when I'm looking at it on the head? So there's a brow bone, comes down in here. And then the back of this little head right here comes in and down. And I can tell now looking at this that I think this part of his jaw is a little too big. I think it needs to be thinner or my angle's off just a little bit. So again, coming in here, trying to make sure that I get my spaces and my angles right. Where does the top of this mouth come up in here? How far down in here? And then this comes in here, but it's not very big right there. It's kind of like that. And then what's going on in here? There's a little bit of that right there. And where's the neck sit from here? So now I'm going to come in here and draw a little bit of the neck. And the arm is right up close to the back of the head, at least from my view. So the arm is coming in here. And I gotta make sure I get my angle right. So I look at this and I go, okay, well, how does this little arm come out? And again, what does this shape in between look like? And where does the hand end? So I'm looking at all these shapes. I know that this little finger, these two little fingers are straight out from the middle of his mouth. It almost looks like he's gonna chomp them off and eat them. So I draw these in here. And then come up here. And I know that there's a little bit of stuff going on in here before we start drawing where that that spoon comes down, the handle of the spoon. I also want to look and see where the back is coming from up here. So I know that if I look from the bottom of this part, it's right about where this back is coming in, and then all the way back. And I can also tell now that where I had this hip, it was a little too far back. So the hip needs to be brought forward because I had too much space in there. So this guy's head, if I'm looking at the green area and then where his arm comes down, this arm right here is going to come in. I know his fingers are going to cross here. Then there's going to be a little section in here. And I'm really looking, does the spoon fit well in there? Yes, it does. It lined up right where it should be. So again, we're really looking at all the spaces. We're looking at the spaces in between and seeing what these dinosaurs can, where things fit on the dinosaurs to make sure that we draw it to scale and correctly. So I'm going to draw my spoon. This side did need to be a little narrower. And then I know his leg on this side is going to be, starts behind here. On the belly, there's a little section of belly in here. And then his leg starts from behind that elbow right there. He's got a little arm going on here. And I drew it a little bit too big. And then I've got that. So I'm going to just go in here and adjust that a little bit. I'm also going to draw, there's a line up here. And again, I'm coming in here to try to designate where that belly comes back. And where's the other curve? So we're going to be looking at how this sits in space and how far everything goes down and what this negative space looks like. If I were to draw the space in between his legs, that is sometimes easier than drawing his legs because his legs are things. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to work on drawing that space in between. Clean up some of my old lines. Get them out of there. And I go, well, it kind of comes in like that. And then this space gets narrower in there. It comes down a little bit. And then this space over here, what does that look like? So that's coming in there. And then it hits the cup. And the teacup comes around. And I've got to really pay attention because I know that both these teacups should be about the same size. So I want to make sure that one of them isn't significantly larger than the other. They're sitting at about the same plane. So they should look pretty comparable to each other. Coming around again. And there's that. I think this teacup is not quite, it just needs a little bit more down here. So a little heavier in the base. I made it too oval down at the bottom. And then I'm looking at his foot and looking at the cup and trying to decide if I look at the edge of where this handle ends and I look at where this is on the corner of this foot, how does that look? How does that sit? And then this little back toe, I want to get his I like to call them dew claws. His little dew claw in here. And drawing's almost like, it's like a puzzle. You're just making little puzzle pieces that fit together. So really fun, something to just work out in your head at the end of the day. Okay, this one too. Where is it sitting? Here. How close does it get to the bottom here? And what does that curve look like as it goes around? And then are my two saucers somewhat, not have to be perfect, but are they somewhat comparable in size to each other? Then I gotta do the handle, the metal piece in the spoon, and you just see a little bit of the spoon in the cup. So that kind of gives you that idea. I'm gonna move this to the right a little bit so you can see me working on this guy. And I'm gonna erase both sides of this. So even though I started with an 8x10, I'm now expanding outside of that 8x10 so that I can crop the painting once it's finished. I'll crop it. So I'm looking at where his knee is compared to this little bump. I know his knee is a little higher. He's got almost like a cute little kneecap going on right here. And then he's got this fabulous leg muscle. He must have been a soccer player. And again, there's his other little ducat. I'm really paying attention to